Maryland football has a much higher ceiling with Clint Trickett.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of the Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed, vanilla Y, cakey flavor, caffeinated cake, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Maryland's ceiling for their entire football team just went up with the hiring of Clint Trickett. We've been talking about it all week. I'm really excited about the new Maryland offensive coordinator. I think he has a chance to be a really good one for Maryland football and the best one we've had under Mike Locksley. I think that's definitely a possibility, and we're going to continue to talk about him, but I really like this hiring for Maryland football. And I think the ceiling of what Maryland's not only offense can do, as well as Malik Washington, everyone on that Maryland offense, but I think the ceiling for our entire team goes up with Clint Trickett. And I just think it's going to be way easier to be able to win games, to put away teams. I think he has something that we've been missing over the last couple of years and under the Mike Locksley era. And it's a really important part of the football team that we just haven't been able to do it. And I really do think it's going to put our ceiling higher and allow us to win a lot more games with Clint Trickett as our OC and obviously Mike Locksley back there as our head coach. I think it's going to help a lot. I think one thing that is going to allow us to raise our ceiling with Clint Trickett is I hope that Mike Locksley now can focus more on the holistic view of our football team instead of having him really focus on the offense. Like I feel like over the last couple of years when we've been struggling offensively, we've seen him take over play calling and different things like that. And I see other parts of our football team kind of go down the drain. It feels like he's not focused. And I think Clint Trickett gives us that ability where Mike Locksley can take a more holistic approach to our football team. And so our head coach is doing what a head coach should be doing. He's worried about the defense. He's worried about the offensive line. He's worried about the receivers. He's worried about the whole view of our football team. He's worried more about game planning in general and how we stop different players on the other team and scouting reports instead of I need to get this play sheet up and to date so that we're ready to go offensively. Clint Trickett's going to have that down. He's going to have our guys in the right spot. And I think that's a big part. I think it just takes off pressure for Mike Locksley. It should, because I think Clint Trickett is going to have this thing going for Maryland football. Like we're going to be in a good spot offensively, I hope, under Clint Trickett to be able to really do some damage, hopefully next year in the Big Ten. And then I think I've been talking about this a lot, but I think the main reason why I think it just brings us a lot more potential. And I'll give you examples of last year's scores. I think last year, if we had a way to kind of play to the style, I can't just pick up Clint Trickett and say if he was our OC last year, we would have a better record. But I do think that when you look at what he's done at Jacksonville State, and when you look at some of the numbers and things like that, you're like, okay, this guy had the recipe to a balanced football team, and Maryland didn't have that. And I think when you look at Maryland's games, we could have used that balanced approach that Clint Trickett has had to be able to win a lot of football games. And I think some of these games that we lost against really good teams, like a bunch of good teams that we had the potential to beat to be able to get us to a bowl game, I think is really going to show up. So I think Clint Trickett is really going to show up in the fourth quarter. I think that's going to be the moment where we see a different ball team for Maryland football. I just think it's pretty simple. We're going to be able to run the ball 10 times better. We should be able to. I know that we might not have a dominant talent, but he's not going to go away from it. And I think that's part of the problem with Maryland football. When you look at some of their numbers on the year, we just didn't run it. Like yesterday, I talked about the game against Washington last year. We had 50 pass attempts, and we barely carried the ball at all. We only had 16 carries for guys between our top two running backs that got carries. And so that's just not enough. And there was a ton of games where you looked and you were like, dang, they're just trying to pass the ball to win the game. Like we're really not having a balanced approach. Like UCLA, Malik Washington threw the ball also for 50 times. Our leading rusher had 14 carries. The next guy, Nolan Ray, had only 4 carries. That's only 18 combined carries. And that's in 2 games last year that we lost by 3. Or we lost by 3 to UCLA. We lost by 4 to Washington. And I think under Clint Trickett, those losses where we can't get any balance going, we can't finish them out in the fourth quarter, I think those are going to turn to wins. Look at what Jacksonville State did last year. They had one of the leading rushers in the country in Cam Cook, who had 295 carries for 1,659 yards. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry. He had 16 touchdowns. And then their quarterback as well, which I think is going to be really big for Malik Washington, and I think this also brings up our ceiling as a football team, had 182 carries for 1,075 yards and 7 touchdowns. So to me, that means that Malik Washington, one, is going to be involved a lot more in the run game, which I love, which I think helps us win football games. Like Malik Washington running the ball is something we need. We're not like a team where, we can just wait until it's the national championship to run our quarterback. Like we got to run our quarterback. That's just what it is. And we've seen him be able to do that. And I think it's going to be a lot easier, and we're going to have a higher ceiling as a football team to be able to win game with Malik Washington running around. And hopefully our running backs, I don't expect them to average 5.6 yards per carry, but I'm hoping it can be closer to 5 yards per carry, unlike last year where it was very low at times, under 4. And so I think that will allow us to finish out teams. And we might not be as flashy as a football program. Like we're not going to be as flashy. It's not going to be maybe as cool to be able to watch Malik Washington throw the ball 50 times around. I don't know how to describe it, but it's going to be nice to win games. And I think down the stretch, that's going to become extremely important. And it's just going to lift so much pressure off the passing attack. And remember, our receiver room is questionable. I don't know. I just don't know right now about who's going to step up, who's going to be good. And so I think that it's going to allow us to be a lot more balanced, where we're going to see the running backs take a lot of the load. And we got 3 really good ones. But the thing is, I think the reason that there's a really high ceiling now with Clint Trickett is we know that he's had the ability to run the ball. That's something that Maryland hasn't been able to do. But Maryland has done a pretty good job throwing the football under Mike Locksley. And we know Malik Washington can spin it. And we know that we're going to have some explosive plays in the passing game for sure. And when you combine those two things together, you think that Maryland should be able to come up with a pretty balanced approach offensively, in an offense that clicks, in an offense that works, and an offense that gets everyone involved. Like, to me, that's pretty exciting for Maryland football. I think that can absolutely happen under Clint Trickett as coach, and obviously Mike Locksley with his side. I think it can really combine and can really work out. And I think we're going to see a more efficient Malik Washington. Like Jacksonville State's quarterback threw for 1,514 yards. Like Malik Washington's going to throw for more than that. But he threw the ball for 61% completion, which is important. I mean, I think Malik's going to give us a lot more than that. But we know last year Malik Washington's completion percentage was pretty down. Like, I think more simple throws at times, running the ball more, is just going to allow us to win more games. Like, I think we beat Nebraska if we're able to do that. I think we beat Washington, and I think we beat UCLA last year. That's just an honest opinion. I think if we're able to do that. And maybe we have a chance to beat Michigan State as well. And so I think the Terps will be a much better team, and I think you're going to get a couple more wins that were in previous years' losses because of a game plan and an approach. And I think Clint Trickett knows running schemes. He knows how to get guys in proper lanes. And one guy commented, it's not going to matter if the offensive line can't block. And I do agree with that. But I also think we have an improved offensive line this year. And I'm hoping Clint Trickett has some tricks up his sleeves in terms of running formations, or I know he definitely does in terms of running formations, getting the tight ends involved in blocking and different run schemes, which allow us to be able to have some success on the ground. And I think that's definitely something he has in his bag. It's not all about, oh, I know I say a lot, like our offensive line has to be able to block, but it's also schemes and stuff. Maryland's schemes have been pretty poor running the football. And so I'm hoping that can be better. I'm also hoping down in the goal line, it can be a lot better too. It's tough to score down in the red zone on the goal first and goals, second and goals, third and goals, when you don't have any kind of other running ability. And we saw it. Caden Creel, their quarterback, Jacksonville State, 7 touchdowns last year. Cam Cook, 16 touchdowns. And then they had another quarterback that played, Gavin Wimsatt, that got some playing time, had 4 touchdowns last year. And so that's going to be a big part of the offense. And I think it could work for Maryland football. And I'm excited to watch and see how it ends up going for Maryland. Let's talk a little bit about Maryland basketball's game this weekend against Washington tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I think the Terps have a really good opportunity to be able to win that game. We'll talk about that next. Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft and to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which might be sleepers. The board is set. The flavors are ready, and there's only one that's going to take this top spot. And 5-Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone. 5-Hour Energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. 5-Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned as well, which I think is going to be really cool. I think the flavor that I really like is something that kind of reminds me of my younger self, something that I really used to like as a kid, and now as a grown person who needs energy throughout the day, I can still have this as a flavor. And I really like the cotton candy. That's the one that wins the draft for me, the cotton candy flavor. There's plenty of good alternatives as well. Like they have a couple new sweet flavors like the confetti craze or the fruity rainbow, but I think the cotton candy one wins the draft for me. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel's giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. And if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And not only can you pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on NBA futures and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Maryland basketball has a really interesting game this weekend against Washington, a game that I think is absolutely winnable. The Washington Huskies are kind of like us, a bottom team in the Big Ten, fighting to play in the Big Ten tournament. I think our chances are pretty dead at this point, but Washington definitely has a chance. They're 5-10 in the Big Ten currently, with definitely an opportunity to be able to be not one of the bottom 4 teams to be able to play potentially. But I do think it is a winnable game for Maryland football or Maryland basketball to beat the Washington Huskies. And they have this one kid who has a chance to be, I think, the first round pick in the NBA draft. He's one of the best freshmen we've seen all year. And I think I've seen different highlights of him. Really interesting player that Washington got on their hands. And this kid, Haynes Steinbach, freshman forward, 6'11", number 6 on their team. He's really impressive. He's averaging 18 points, 11.3 rebounds per game. So he averages a double-double. I think he's going to be the most talented player on the court, a kid who has NBA potential, like I said. He does a lot of things well, which is pretty cool to watch. He'll shoot some threes. He doesn't shoot. He shoots the ball pretty efficiently at 35% from three-point arc. He averaged 34 minutes a game, 11 rebounds, like I talked about, a block a game, 18 points. Like, he kind of just does it all. I do think he's their best guy by a pretty good margin, and he'll be the most talented player on the court. He's definitely a good one to watch. And so I think you could argue him as one of the better freshmen in the Big Ten. I know we've got some really good guys, but he's a big part of why they win games. Like, a big part of the reason they beat Minnesota last game was because he had 26 points. And then they lost 3 straight before that. And then the big reason they beat Northwestern is because he had 22 points. So when you see them usually win games, like Utah, 20 points, USD, 21 points. Like, when they win games, a big part of it is because he's scoring the ball and he's doing a lot of the damage. And so he's a guy that, again, we've been talking about different guys that Maryland basketball has to slow down. And it feels like every time we kind of talk about it, it doesn't really end up happening. But he's a guy that is as talented as anybody on the court and can score with anybody on the court. It might be the best player in the court. And so a guy that we obviously need to slow down. And they have this kid, Zoom Diallo, who's a sophomore, a guard. He's 12th in the conference with a 48.8 field goal percentage. He's second on the team in points with 14.7. And so he's a physical guard. I think Andre Mills can match up well against him. He gets to the free throw line a lot, and we definitely want to keep him off of that as well. And then they have another big, this Frank Kempana guy, graduate center from he's graduate student center. He's 6'11", averages just 6 points a game, but he has 55 blocks this year. So they're pretty big down low. And that kind of gives me to my next point, is that they get a lot of rebounds. Those couple of big guys I just talked about, they get a lot of rebounds, and that's a big strength of theirs. They average 12 offensive rebounds. And let me tell you, with the Maryland team that's undersized, that is just smaller, and guys like Colin Metcalf, Solomon Washington, Elijah Sanders, they play a lot down low, and those guys aren't the biggest cats in the world. And so I think that could determine the game. I think the rebounding is going to determine the game. Two teams that have struggled all year. It's not going to be about shooting the threes. It's not going to be about scoring points. It's not going to be about that. It's going to be about the glass. I think that's going to determine the game, and that's my prediction for the game. Whoever out rebounds the other team is going to end up winning. That's just how I see it. That's how I see it playing out. I don't know exactly if it's going to end up happening like that, but I think that's what's going to happen in a game like this, is whoever out rebounds the other team definitely has a chance to win. And now I think a really big part of this game is I want to see Andre Mills again. Like, I'm excited to watch what Andre Mills does. I know that there's a chance that he can go for 25 points. I know he had 39 last game. He has a chance to play really well again, and he has the keys right now, and he's clearly our best player. And so I'll be very interested to see what Andre Mills' development looks like if he ends up kind of going off and playing like the player we think he can be. I think that's important for Maryland Maryland basketball. So we're going to see that. And so I definitely think I'm going to be interested in that, as well as I want to see Darius Adams be a little bit more aggressive. I feel like at times he kind of gets a little bit lost in the game and doesn't continue to play aggressively, and we need him to score a lot of points. And so him and Andre Mills, we'll see how it goes. And then Solomon Washington's been our best rebounder since being back from injury. You're going to have to rebound well this game, and same with Colin Metcalf. So we'll see if that ends up happening, but I do think those are a couple really interesting parts of the game that I will be watching for Maryland football. Let's talk or Maryland basketball. I keep doing that. Let's talk about Preston Howard's impact heading into next year. Why I think the tight end can be really good, especially under this new coordinator. We'll talk about that next.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot. celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Let's talk a little bit about Preston Howard's impact. And you got interviewed a little bit, and he was talking about rejoining the Maryland football team. And I love this pickup for Maryland football, getting Preston Howard back in the transfer portal, because I thought we absolutely needed a second tight end that had some talent that could make some plays. I think we were lacking that last year. I just didn't think we had that. Like, I didn't think anybody after Dorian Fleming I felt good about. And now we have a two-headed monster in Dorian Fleming and Preston Howard, both guys that are pretty old now and have played a lot of ball. So you would think that's a pretty good duo. And I think under Clint Trickett, he understands tight ends. I think both of those guys could potentially play really well, and I'm excited about. But I expect Preston Howard to have a breakout year. I do. I think his size and his ability to get open, his ability to block, he's like 6'5", 240 pounds probably. There's no reason at this point in his career he isn't ready to take a step. And I think he's there, and I think it's ready to happen. And I think Maryland's going to have two tight ends in the game a lot, and I'm going to like that. Like, I'm going to see us run the ball, two tight ends, use Dorian Fleming and Preston Howard in the passing attack as well. And so for him to come back and to rejoin Maryland, I think is important because there's something about just being back home, being back at Maryland. I think it's just there's something about being back in your home state where he's from. And I know Preston Howard personally, and so he used to be a quarterback in high school, and so he's still kind of newish to running the tight end position. It's not like he's played tight end his whole life. It's not like that's something he did his whole career. And so he's still relatively new to learning the nuances of it, but now he's gotten the chance since being a freshman at Maryland. And so he's always kind of been a really good side piece for Maryland football. But him and Dorian Fleming, I don't think it's like a 1 or 2. I think it can be a 1A, 1B. I know Dorian Fleming had a pretty good year last year, caught a decent amount of balls, but I don't see why the 6'5", 240-pound Preston Howard can't do something really good. He played in all 12 games for Auburn, got a taste of the SEC, so he got better. He continued to improve. And so I'm excited to see what exactly he can become for Maryland football. And I think it's something pretty good. And so we'll see what ends up exactly happening. But it's been interesting watching players come back. I feel like that's not something that happens a ton in college football, but that's been something that has happened on a smaller scale a little bit over the last couple of players from Maryland football with Preston Howard and Levon Johnson. So I do think it's pretty interesting to be able to watch. So we'll see what ends up happening though. But he has 37 receptions for 349 yards and 1 touchdown during the 2023 and 2024 season. I think he can get to that total just this year for Maryland football. I think that's definitely possible. We know Clint Trickett has a John Mackey Award winner under his belt. I know he's pretty good with the tight ends. And so I was looking at Jacksonville State's offense last year. I think it was their third leading receiver was a tight end. And so I think we're going to see a lot of bigger personnel. I think that's how Clint Trickett wants to play. And the play action potential with Malik Washington throwing Preston Howard the ball, I think will work. And so we'll see how it ends up going. But I'm pretty excited about that. About that connection. And I do think that two Maryland guys, Preston Howard and Malik Washington, hopefully can form somewhat of a connection. And I'm expecting a breakout from Preston Howard. I'm expecting a breakout. It's time you can't wait forever for it. I know he still has one more year after this because he redshirted. So he's technically a redshirt junior right now. So he does have another year, but I don't see why I can't come this year. So we'll see what ends up happening, but I'm excited to watch him. I think he's also a really big red zone threat. I think he's going to be maybe our best guy in the red zone as well. And so we'll see what ends up happening, but I'm definitely excited to watch him be able to go to work. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. But thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.